Andrew Elliott, great to get you on the podcast.
Thank you.
I think we first met in 2005 at Blue Lagoons, Project Dubai Investment Park. Dubai Lagoon, was it? Better Homes exclusive.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So that was nearly 20 years ago.
So that was my first project in real estate. We were selling that.
Wow.
It would have been in 2005, beginning 2006.
So I met you right at the beginning.
Yeah. Literally, that was our first project. And I think I started December 2005.
Right. And we had a fewer grey hairs then.
A lot less grey hairs and a lot less stress and a lot less stories to tell.
Yeah. Maybe you could introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
My name's Andrew Elliott. I'm a commercial real estate specialist, I would say, probably these days, having done 19 years of commercial real estate in Dubai. I was very fortunate to move from a professional golf background, which I was out doing in Dubai. Having moved across to real estate in 2005, I was lucky to catch, obviously, the boom years of 2006, 7, and then 8. And then obviously went through the whole turmoil of 2009, 10, 11, the upwards of 12, 13, 14, and then differently in the commercial market from 16, oil price crashed in 2015, and the demise of commercial real estate right through till the end of COVID. And then thankfully the boom post-COVID to where we are sitting today.
Yeah, well, congratulations, because it's been a great career. And
Thank
you
you.
now head up Chestertons.
Chestertons Commercial.
Yeah. Previous to that, you headed up CRC. Yeah. Cool. So I'd like to talk a bit about the golf. How long were you out here?
So I
as a
came
golf pro?
out, I turned pro, I think it was in 96 or 97. I didn't realize you were going to go back this far. Played golf in Europe until 2000, came out here.
So you were a touring pro then?
I was more of a club pro, did teaching day to day, played regional golf in the UK. Came out here as a teaching pro. Was in a car accident in 2000 and came out here 2000 summer or end of the summer and did 5 years as a golf pro in Abu Dhabi.
Fantastic. And then from that, you decided to go to Better Homes to get into real estate.
It was a tussle because at the time I came back from playing European Development Tour in Europe over the summer. Got back here in sort of September, and I have to say I was stood on the driving range teaching some people and just thought, I'm wasting my time. I might as well do something else with my life. Resigned, was ready to travel the world. I'd had a around the world ticket booked, and a friend of mine was sort of adamant that I come and talk to him at least in Dubai, and he worked for a company called Better Homes. Spoke to a few people, traveled back and forth in between that time. And I think one day the sales director, a lady called Emma, slapped down an Excel spreadsheet and said, that's what my agents are going to earn this month. I looked at that and thought, how can I turn that sort of money down? And
I'll have some of that.
Yeah, I'll have a slice of that. 2006, I was their number one sales agent.
And was that residential or commercial by this stage?
Going back to the beginning where we officially first met, I thought we met in 2010 or 11 selling commercial property, but selling off-plan properties. 2005, Better Homes had an exclusive, a department that dealt with off-plan properties only. At the time called special projects, which maybe that's where the special needs people went to, but I was one of those.
The old use of the word special, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So did that for the first year. And towards the end of that year, we had a commercial project in Business Bay. The sales director at the time, Billy, took me for a walk around Village Mall, which was our head office, and said, you're going to commercial real estate. At the time, I said, well, what's commercial real estate? Because I don't know anybody else that's doing commercial real estate in Dubai. And she said, don't worry, you'll kill it. I didn't know at the time that we had signed an exclusive mandate with the Bayswater building in Business Bay. And we moved into commercial real estate. And that's basically where I sort of earned my crust in commercial real estate.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that's when you thought we met. And we did meet then because you sold a property for me.
Yeah.
And very quickly did a really good job.
And that was the Jumeirah Lake Towers, if I remember rightly.
I think it was in Business Bay at Deer. Okay. I can't remember the name of it.
You must have had a few then.
I wish, but I needed to shift that, and you did a really good job doing that. So, and how was the progression from the early days of commercial up to heading up the whole department?
I think the commercial real estate market has always been undervalued. We had such a huge oversupply in 2009, 10 and 11 when the market was obviously at its lowest. All these developments that had been launched in 2006, 7 and 8 were basically handing over. And the oversupply of commercial real estate has never really been evaporated, if that's the right word, till 2020. And all of a sudden we've gone from zero to hero in the last 2 or 3 years, purely on the fact that nobody's built any commercial real estate in the last sort of 7 or 8 years. And I sort of feel that the population of Dubai has grown massively. The residential developments have continued throughout this period, and we've basically caught up with the supply that we had in commercial. And I don't see any new supply coming in for the next 2 to 3 years.
Sure, but at Better Homes, which later became CRC, the commercial division, there were plenty of other people in that same position. But you managed to push yourself forward and head up the operation.
There's a time where you sort of sit there and you're a broker. We were earning good money. There was always good transactions to be done. I sort of learned my trade as a broker. And I think as I sort of got a little bit older, there wasn't many people with the experience in commercial real estate. And that sort of experience then came through and led me to leading a team. At the time, we had a team in Vision Tower, we had a team in Marina Plaza. So I sort of led the team in Marina Plaza. And then we merged into one big team in Control Tower, and I just took on more and more responsibilities, really.
Yeah, sure. And how did you find the difference between actually doing the deals yourself as a broker and leading a team, managing a team?
I have to say, I still miss the days of doing viewings.
Yeah.
I still miss the days of meeting clients on a daily basis. I've been lucky that it's been a good transition, and I wasn't thrown in at the deep end and left to manage a team. So it is something that I sort of progressed over a couple of years. I'll be honest, I'm still progressing. I'm still learning. I'm still doing all sorts of different things that I think haven't done that before, or learning a new skill.
Yeah. And so you were head of CRC for how long?
So I went into management in CRC in 2017, I think it was. At the time, we had a director called Ben, who's still there now. And I basically head up day-to-day operations for CRC. We grew the team from, at the time, about 12 agents right the way up to 33 or 34 when I left.
Wow.
So massive growth. And the vision that Ben had at the time was to grow the team and to grow the marketing when the rest of the market was walking away from commercial. And I think that was when we grew the biggest market share. And that's when we sort of really established CRC as the commercial go-to agency.
So you would say you were number one then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from 2017, 18, right through till now, they probably still are number one. I don't know their numbers on a daily basis, but
I remember Better Homes in that sort of days that we were talking about going back to around 2005. And I would say it was better to go to Better Homes website to look at either commercial or residential than it was to look on Property Finder. There were more properties on there. So in other words, it was over 50% of market share.
I mean, back in definitely, I think 2006, 7 and 8. I mean, I remember the days, and you're saying Property Finder and portals. I don't think we had them in those days. I mean, we still had Golf News, and we had...
it came a little bit later.
And we had sort of the middle 5 pages of the property newspaper in...
2010 would have been more accurate.
And at that time, I think Better Homes definitely was the biggest, the best. We had the most agents. We had, I think, probably at the time, the best tech. And we were probably the most sought after household name in real estate.
Yeah. And so you went from heading up CRC and you moved over to Chestertons. Were you headhunted by Chestertons?
I was. And again, lucky position that the CEO at the time, Nick, he had tried to recruit me once before. He was doing it in a separate entity, and they then decided not to go ahead with their growth plans in Dubai and focused on another country within the region. And he then called me back again, must have been 2021. And he sort of courted me in numerous ways of trying to court me to get me to come across. And yeah, October 22, I came across.
Yeah. So you've been there over 18 months now.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so is it a franchise then? The
so Chestertons MENA is owned by the owner. and he sits in Dubai. He runs the day-to-day operations of Chestertons.
The owner of the whole
Correct, yeah.
operation.
So we've got franchises in about 19 other countries, but MENA region is owned by him, and he still obviously actively runs the business.
Yeah, because most of the offices are in London, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So London is probably our biggest franchise, which I think at the moment they've got around 33 offices.
Wow, yeah. So are you recruiting at the moment? You're looking for staff?
I think we're always recruiting.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a day in real estate that we don't recruit. I think any real estate company in Dubai at the moment is looking to recruit.
Yeah. And what experience do you want from agents? Do you reckon it's a good idea for an agent to have residential background?
I tend to find, and this is I think we can all go back and forth on what we require. Obviously, having some real estate agency background is great. I find people that have been in a sales, sort of a business to business sales background, a lot easier to deal with than, say, people that have not done sales. But definitely they tend to cut their teeth better in the commercial world.
Yeah, yeah. So what stands Chestertons from the rest? You're obviously good on tech.
We're great on tech. Our CRM system is fantastic. I think as well as that, if you look at who's heading up the commercial and residential teams at the moment, I think we've got nearly 40 years of experience in Dubai market. I don't think there's many companies in Dubai that have even got that sort of length time on their trade license, never mind people managing their business. So that's one part that sets us apart. We've obviously got the heritage of Chestertons was started in London in, I think, 212 years ago.
Wow.
So we're probably one of the oldest real estate companies in the world. And then we've obviously got the franchise business. So we're in, like I said, just now 19 other countries.
Yeah. And your office here is at the Marina.
So our office is currently Marina Plaza. So we've got 2 offices there. And then for the region, we've also got an office in Abu Dhabi, which we do a lot of valuations, property management out of. And then building consultancy, we've got an office in Riyadh.
Okay. Let's move on to the Dubai market. Why are you bullish over the next few years?
I think
commercial?
the amount of development that's gone on in the residential sector, and going back to the fact that nothing's been built in commercial for the last few years.
Yeah, you touched on that.
That has to spur on the commercial market prices. I think if you look at the growth we've had over the last 3 years has been phenomenal in commercial. And I anticipate that growth is going to continue until we either start to see some supply or there's maybe a change in fortunes in the region. But I mean, when you look at what has gone or the instability that has been in the region and the amount of people that have still moved to Dubai and the fact that Dubai's opened its borders to these people and they've brought their money, set up their businesses, moved their families over here, bought properties, living here, they're not suddenly going to pack up their stuff and leave Dubai. And I think that's something that's going to help create Dubai, help it grow into a regional hub that it already is. It's become a massive gateway with the airlines in and out of the UAE. And I think it's going to become a sort of business road, crossroad. And I think that will continue to grow. We've still got probably, and I know this is something you hear on a daily basis, but the safety record that we have in Dubai, like I say, the connectivity and the infrastructure that we've got here compared to any of the sort of cities we've got within 5 or 6 hours of here is amazing. You look at the road structure, you look at the metro that's gone in, you look at, again, airlines, and where else can you get that within a 5 or 6 hour flight of Dubai?
Yeah, you say we hear it on a daily basis. We do, but it's all true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And until you come here and experience it, it's difficult to get your head around it.
And I mean, I've traveled all over the world, and yet you come to Dubai and everything seems to work. Whereas so many countries these days, you sort of think it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. It's unbelievable. And you think how many, just British alone, coming out here, and why can't they make it work back home or in other European countries or in North America?
And I think
why is it working so well here?
I think Dubai did fantastically well during COVID, and again, something I've talked about many a time before. But the fact that they kept the borders open, they kept restaurants open. They kept all the facilities open, attracted the wealth of the world to look at Dubai and think of a second/third/fourth home maybe. And I think once they got here, those people then started looking at it going, actually, Dubai has a lot to offer me. Maybe I should be moving my business to Dubai. Maybe I can operate my business from Dubai and operate it remotely. And I think that's continued. We did obviously have the instability with a couple of countries regionally, and there was a huge influx of people, which I think also helped kickstart the real estate market after COVID. They moved in, they brought businesses with them, they brought their money with them, and that's helped fuel the current boom that we're in.
And do you see much competition from the rest of the region?
I mean, Saudi's obviously the sleeping giant. I do feel Saudi's obviously got a long way to go before it's a Dubai, but the inroads they're making, the plans they have, and the other big advantage that Saudi has is they have the population. So their population is already 30 million people. You've got to think that the UAE's population, I think at the moment, is about 9 million people. You can build stuff in Saudi and you have a built-in clientele. Here we're building stuff to attract people from the world, not necessarily just people living in Dubai.
Yeah, I agree. And then we've covered the commercial in general in Dubai. What about different sectors do you like within commercial? So office, retail?
I personally invest in office space. I've got office space in Business Bay that's done fantastically well for me, thank goodness. I do think the retail market is a very intriguing market. Everybody was sort of quite adamant that the retail market was dead after COVID. Everybody had gone to e-commerce. People won't be going to malls. People won't be going to the high street retailers anymore. And I think if you look at the malls in Dubai at the moment, you probably won't find any spaces available. I know if you look at street level retail, there's definitely nothing available. And I think the retail market is as strong as it's ever been. And I think that will only ever continue to grow. Industrial space is always a sector that I've had a little bit of a soft spot for. The industrial sector in Dubai, you got to remember, we don't grow anything here. Most products that come or that we get on our shelves in Dubai have been shipped here. So there's always going to be a huge logistics market. People are going to be importing products from around the world. It's going to be coming through the ports. It's going to need to sit in warehousing. And the warehouse market, I think, is one that always does very well when the market is doing well in Dubai. The other market I think that I'm also quite interested in is a new phenomenon from probably the last 5 or 6 years, which is named Airbnb, but it's short-term rentals. There's always been a short-term rental market, but there's a name for it now. And I think that market here, with the process of people being able to get their Emirates ID, being able to rent a property or anything like that, Airbnb fills that gap where people can't afford or won't justify staying in a hotel for a month until they get their Emirates ID and they can lease a property. So I think that market is a very popular market. And I think with the amount of trade shows that we have going on here, that market also fills a lot of, or takes up a lot of space from hotels.
So do you like hospitality in general? Obviously, for the bigger investors, they might be looking to buy a whole hotel unit and rent it.
There is investors that look at every asset, and what amazes me in the 20 years of doing commercial real estate, I think you meet all sorts of different investors that have all different requirements, and I think Dubai is always going to be at the forefront of investors' minds on commercial property at the moment.
What about yields? Can you go into expected yields within different sectors?
Typically in the office sector, we look at about 8% net return.
Yeah.
Yes, it does go up and down. Yes, you will always get investors saying, I'm not touching it unless I'm getting 10% returns. Industrial, so if you look at warehousing, you're probably getting about 9-10% return. Staff accommodation, which is another sector, they typically get a little bit higher return, maybe 11-12%. So you tend to find that there is higher returns. You tend to find on the industrial, it is leasehold land, so it's not freehold. So there is quite a lot of people that will shy away from that investment to start with. But I think if you look at the office space, definitely there's a good return on there and a slightly higher than a residential return.
Yeah, so office around 8%.
Yeah.
And how does that compare with other parts of the world? UK, Europe,
I would say
North
that
America?
8% return anywhere in the world is a good return. I think even if you start getting above 6%, I mean, I've got properties in the UK and 6% is a very good return. I mean, most are around
your properties
4%.
in the UK commercial or residential?
Residential. My wife has more of an influx on those, and we tend to be residential, whereas here we've sort of went into commercial real estate, and thankfully they've done very well.
Yeah, so you've done well with your career, and you've invested some of that money back into property. You've already touched on it, UK, Dubai. Do you want to talk more about that?
I think it's something that, I'm so passionate about real estate, having been in it for 20 years. I look at the returns, I look at what other people are looking at, and there is times that the market really does make sense, and there's times that maybe keep your money in your pockets and wait for a better time. But at the moment, I think the real estate market around the world, wherever you seem to look, seems to be appreciating in value. And I think the returns are there to be had.
Yeah. Well, it's a great antidote to inflation, really, isn't it?
It is.
If you look at the central banks throughout the world, including in Abu Dhabi, they are creating around 8% more currency every year.
Yep.
That money has to go somewhere.
And at the same time, I think if you look at the population's growth, whether it's here or in the UK, the growth of populations is so much quicker than they can build any properties, that the value of properties is always going up.
So earlier we were talking about, before the interview, we were talking about the precarious situation economically throughout the world, potentially at the moment. Why do you think Dubai will survive another possible crash?
I was here during 2008, 2009 when we had the global recession. And at that time, we had very few properties. So everybody was trading bits of paper. I think if you look at it this time, we've got tangible assets. We've got real estate. There's people living in the real estate. The other thing is Dubai has done, I've always thought, very well on, I want to say, cash buyers. I mean, not literally people walking with bags full of money and buying properties, but cash buyers versus mortgages. And I don't have the stats to hand, but I'd be surprised to see how many people do actually purchase properties with cash versus mortgages. And I think that's something that will help Dubai continue through a downturn again. I think the fundamentals in Dubai, the fact that it's become such a global place, the fact that it's attracting so many people from around the world, and I think Dubai will probably weather the storm a lot better than a lot of countries at the moment, especially in Europe.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And there's, as you say, there's a lot less leverage here. Dubai's on the world stage now. Everybody's heard of it.
Definitely.
The new airport's going to make a big difference, isn't it?
And I mean, you look at all the fundamentals that Dubai has: infrastructure, connectivity. You look at all of those, and I sort of think you can't take that away from Dubai. They've built it. It's here. You can come and live it. You can drive it. You can work here. And I think with the licensing changing, I think with the fact that we've got these golden visas now, people used to be in a position that potentially you lost your job. Sorry, but it's time to leave the country. And there's a lot of people sitting on golden visas now who probably have the wealth to sustain a drop. So those people aren't going to suddenly have to pack up their bags and leave Dubai.
Yeah. And before we look to wrap up, what's the future for you?
I just carry on doing what I'm doing. Love what I do. Love watching agents grow from the beginning, teaching them how to do commercial real estate and watching them grow. And then obviously transactions that they do and seeing them grow as individuals. And that's the part I think I get the biggest kick out of.
Do you run a training program, or have you got?
So we've got in-house trainers, and then I tend to do a lot of hand holding to get the best out of agents and get them to a position that they're closing deals, transacting, understanding the market better. And I think that's definitely something that in the commercial world agents need.
Yeah. Great. So if anybody wants to get hold of you, they want to work for Chestertons or they want to invest through you, where's the best place to go?
I'm on
the website?
LinkedIn. I'm on Chestertons website. I'm on all the portals. I'm on Instagram. I'm on pretty much everywhere.
I'll put details in the show notes.
I'm sure you'll put me at the bottom of it and tag me in it.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for your insights today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.